Hi guys, Ribka here. In this video, I want to talk about a Minecart stack separator that is one wide and tileable that I designed. It is based off of a design by Talon, but I think the way I'm making it tileable is new. But if that's not the case, please let me know. Let's get into it. So let's start with Talon's design. The key features here are the piston pushing carts over onto this detector rail, which powers this trapdoor. If I put a couple carts in the system, you can see that pressing the button next to the piston allows one cart to be dispensed, but not the other one. And then when I add in more carts, they sit in safely, and the system continues to work, dispensing one cart at a time. The way this works, to my understanding, is that when all the carts are pushed over, it is actually the oldest cart which registers as being on this detector rail first, which immediately closes this trap door and prevents any of the other carts from being pushed alongside it. See that the trap door is kind of what's keeping the other carts behind. My system uses a very similar mechanic where a piston is pushing my carts over onto a detector rail which powers a trap door. However, you can see that it's one wide, there are no sideways slanted rails, and though there are barrier blocks holding in this water source, adjacent modules would not interfere with each other in that front. Speaking of this water source, it exists only to get the last cart out of the dispenser. You can see it kind of stalls here. The cart kind of stalls here, which the water source is needed to give it momentum in order to get it onto this powered rail. If you don't know about flowing source blocks, this is a feature of water in Minecraft, and that it will try to flow towards a source that is downwards and next to it. Normally this is interfered with by blocks. You can see the solid block interferes with it, but it's not interfered with by scaffolding or rails, and so we're just using that to give the cart some momentum. Just to show off the system, I'll put in 3 carts. You can see one gets dispensed at a time, and just for knowledge, it is in fact the oldest cart before the newer carts. The way Talon's design is keeping the carts on this slanted rail is there is a block here that is preventing the minecarts from rolling off of the rail, whereas in this system it is just the fact that this rail is unpowered that is preventing the minecarts from gaining momentum downhill. This, however, requires the minecarts to be aligned with each other exactly. The way we're achieving that is by having them butt up against this block, which you can see down here aligns their hitboxes exactly with the front of this block. Notably, also, there is a gap between the hitbox and this block. Furthermore, when this piston pushes forwards, this block pushes the minecarts forwards against the trapdoor and keeps them aligned in the same position, such that minecarts that are left in the system after it's activated are aligned the same way that minecarts coming into the system are, and so it is safe to add in new carts after the system has been activated, and it will continue to work, dispensing one at a time. Here is an alternate version that can accept carts coming from the opposite direction relative to the piston's facing direction. In this system, carts are aligned against the face of this block, and so you can see there's actually no gap between this block and the minecart's hitbox. The system works the same way by pushing carts onto the detector rail, but you'll see that when the piston retracts, it actually pulls the remaining carts up this rail and back up against this block. See that position change there, which means that they are once again aligned with the way carts are coming into the system, and so new carts can be added safely, and they will continue to be dispensed one at a time. One thing that is very important to note about these systems is that the only thing keeping these carts still is the fact that this rail is unpowered. If you power this rail, the carts will leave. However, for this design, this first design, this is not a problem if this trapdoor is closed. even if I activate this rail, the carts are already up against this block. They can't roll downwards anymore, and so they cannot move, and so they do not become misaligned relative to one another. So if I unpower that and open the trapdoor, you'll see the system continues to work just as before. However, for this design, that is not the case. I'll add a couple more carts, and when I close the trapdoor, powering the rail actually causes some of the carts to align themselves against the trapdoor while some stay back. So even when I disable the trapdoor, even when I disable the powered rail and open the trapdoor, they will flow out of the system. And this will also leave carts misaligned with this block, such that new carts coming in will push out older carts, and that will persist as an issue. Notably, at any time, this can be solved by closing the trapdoor and reactivating the piston, such that it pulls the carts back up onto the rail, and then your system will work normally. What this means, however, is that this piston has to be extended for at least 20 game ticks for this system to work. The reason for that is because when carts exit the system, they activate this detector rail, which will then be active for the next 20 game ticks. That powers this powered rail. And so if there are any carts on here, some of them will become aligned with the trapdoor that is closed at that time. That means that they will be misaligned and they will mess with the system unless the piston is retracted after that rail is unpowered. And so when I use a 20 game tick button, that is what's happening here. As soon as this rail becomes unpowered, the piston draws the hopper minecarts back up onto the block. And so that's that little bit of movement you see at the end there. However, if I activate this piston for less than 20 game ticks, the piston will retract while this rail is still powered, and some of the minecarts will become misaligned. So there's only one cart left in the system, and you can see that it is now misaligned, and that will break the system. Of course, this can still be fixed by reactivating the piston, but realistically, if you're using this system, you should never activate this piston for less than 20 game ticks, and that should be controllable if you're using this system. One last thing of note is that from my testing, these designs, neither of them are sensitive to direction. Even when carts could, in theory, interfere with each other's alignments when they are on adjacent rails, these systems don't seem to break. That's about it for these designs. And I hope that people find these interesting. I think they have some pretty, I think a one-wide tileable cart separator that is this simple has some pretty interesting implications for what we can do with carts. I know I am designing a one-wide tileable cart multiple item sorter that is using this as a component. And I hope that these designs, either as is or improved versions, can be used to good effect in the future. Thanks for watching.